Okay, this game is Oosterom versus Timmerman in the 1996 ICCF World Championship final. So the game was started in 1996, but remember this is a correspondence game, so it lasted more than a few months. Oosterom playing white. Oosterom is the 2 times now ICCF World Champion. He's playing Timmerman, who's now ranked at around 10 in the ICCF rank list with a rating of 2700. Oosterom plays d4, and Timmerman at the time of the game, he played the King's Indian defence. Statistics of the King's Indian defence in correspondence chess, I believe, is getting worse and worse, and this may be due to advances in engine technology, showing that the defence may not be as solid as other mainline openings, such as the Queen's Gambit declined, or Queen's Gambit accepted. So here we have the start of the King's Indian defence, and now we have Oosterom playing knight e1 here, which is kind of the old classical main line, where the bishop's still going to e3, and black can gain a tempo with f4 later. Sometimes we're seeing in games the bishop just coming to d2 and f3 and g4 being played, which has been popularised by Shirov. So here we have the classical pawn storm on the king's side from black, and black's also trying to delay white's queen side attack with this b6. So b4 is also discouraged with this a5 move, but white plays it anyway because he's trying to gain access to some of the squares like c6 here, and this pawn on c6 could be quite dangerous. It's immune here because of knight e7 check, obviously. So black plays rook f7 here, and now white plays a5. So he doesn't mind about the pawn being lost here, because there is tremendous compensation on the queen side being built up, a lot of pressure. And these 2 bishops are potentially going to be useful for attacking squares on the queen side. So this is kind of a typical King's Indian position, where black's queen side is under enormous pressure. But black is pursuing this classical idea of undermining on f3, but also there's potential for g3 in some lines. So knight takes d5 was played. So white's got a very advanced pawn chain, but there's no clear points for white winning material, and black does pursue now this pawn sack, which aims to expose usually the dark squares and gain access to dark squares. So here this bishop occupies this fine diagonal now. Remember, white's bishop is on the same colour as these pawns, so potentially it's going to be a bad bishop soon. And as the game shows, that becomes a very important theme. White sacrificed the exchange here because these threats are quite dangerous building up. Could white have just played though queen d3 here? Let's have a quick look at that. Queen d3. Maybe rook g7 is very dangerous here. In fact, it's very difficult for white to defend this. f4 is just hopeless. Just e takes f4. So white's being forced to sack the exchange here, virtually. So that was the game continuation. Now rook takes a5. So white has just 1 pawn for the exchange, but this queen side is under pressure. Now we have this bishop h4 move, which is very interesting, and g3. But bishop f5, gaining a tempo on the queen and also attacking e4. So can white hold this position? Black's now has got a very good position here, and is the exchange up. But can the pressure be increased? Because white does have the bishop pair here. f3 is seen as a target, so white is a bit tied to the defence of this. And now we see this queen coming to f8. So what is black up to? Black's trying to use the queenside b8 square as a pivot to get his pieces into the white position, which he's doing successfully now. So the pieces are starting to invade the white position, and these dark squares are again under fire now. Queen e1 now is threatened. So there's intense pressure building up here. A rook on the 7th is always quite dangerous. H5. So finally, black's going for a structural change in the position. So these pieces are quite optimal at the moment, with pressurising the back rank. So can black now create another target in white's position, the f3 square? Already there's a threat of bishop f3, and it seems very difficult to defend now. So queen takes f1's winning the f3 pawn, and also the game, because all these pawns are being mopped up now by force. Black's only target is the c7 square. That's the only sort of slight vulnerability white can go for. But unfortunately the king's coming to d8, so these pawns are now just being mopped up. So that's the end of the game. Oosterom, the 2 times Correspondence world champion now, lost this key game against the King's Indian defence. But maybe white could have improved on the play earlier. If we go back briefly, perhaps after bishop takes g3, bishop h6, did white have to play king f2? Maybe this was a very dangerous idea because of the rook g7. Maybe here a move like bishop e1 or king h1, perhaps. Maybe it wasn't all bad. King h1 as a new variation, rook g7, bishop h2. Could it have been a different story? Perhaps this might have been better than the game. Anyway, the final position is a great demonstration of the pawn chain and the bishop being useless or very good against the pawn chain. So a very instructive game.